Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to ask the question, are men and women equal? Because with all the conflict and difficulties between men and women and all the political conflict between globalism and nationalism, it's a very important question. So let's get right to it. Now, I believe that we have to start off physically. And I don't think it comes as a surprise to anybody that men and women are not equal physically. Men are generally larger and faster and more capable. They can endure physically a lot more than the woman can. I don't see that there's, any argument. Like you could find some extreme case of, women on testosterone that are, going to the Olympics or something like that. And, some boys that are just playing too many video games. You could find those examples, but on the whole, men have every advantage physically. And, of course, women give birth. So it's got nothing to do with the social construct. It has nothing to do with how people are treated. There's no political or social remedy for it. And to act as if, there is, or as if there's some sort of grievance that women have with men because men and women are not equal physically, men have the advantage, is a great miscarriage of justice. It's a great, handicapping of men, right? So straight up, women do not have the advantage physically. So what about mentally, right? There you go, intelligence. Now, brain size does matter, right? If a man is 20% bigger and he has 20% more mass, his brain is 20% bigger. So it's going to add up. Now, in the development, the girls develop a little faster, up to about the age of 12. So there you go. But after that, the boys start to, move past them. And you can see this in the way that they behave. There you go. You can see it in the way that they behave. The little boys are not very organized, but the little girls, they follow orders. They're nice. They're neat. They do as they're told. And lately we've been, drugging the boys to make them act a little bit more like the girls. So the boys are coming along, So in the early development, the girls definitely have the advantage. And, but we're drugging the boys, so they might catch up when they get developmentally damaged enough. So this is how we equal out these, because the boys are much more physically aggressive and they want to explore, they want to ask questions. And the school teachers can't have that, right? You can't ask a school teacher a question. If you ask a school teacher a question, there's a possibility that she might not know the answer, and you might make her feel bad. And the most important thing, school, right, is not making anybody feel bad. So little boys are inclined to ask questions. So you have to give them, you have to medicate them. You have to drug them. So little girls have the advantage. Now, when the boys get a little older, they start to move ahead if they haven't been drugged and damaged, and stigmatized too much for being little boys. So overall, no, the women are not equal to men, right? And the men have the advantage. And the women resent this greatly. Why aren't there an equal number of women CEOs? It's like, well, because they're not capable. They haven't built their companies. These are not appointments. These are individual achievements. So, even asking the question, even putting that forward as an indication of some sort of lack of equality is really quite foolish. So men have the advantage intellectually, definitely. Even though at an early age, when the little boys are depending on their mothers, no. Then the women have all the advantages. And, they use it. They shape the mind of the young men. They really do. So you could consider the fact that the influence that the women have on the young boys does extend throughout their life. So it's not just a one shot. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's move on to socially, because that's really the question that the feminists and the women are putting forward. That's their position, that things are not equal socially. Because you can't argue physically. How could you argue? It's not the man's fault that he's a man. It's not the woman's fault that she's a woman. It isn't right to handicap them, although that's exactly what they're doing, right? But socially, are they treated equally? Are they treated fairly? Do they have the same opportunities? Women would argue no, and you could see where they're coming from. Don't overreact. They are 20% smaller. They are 20% less intelligent overall. And if I'm hanging around a guy who's 20% bigger than me and 20% more intelligent than me, I'm feeling a little intimidated. And so would you. So that's understandable. Likewise, the males don't get pregnant. So there's really very little risk biologically from a natural point of view for the males in mating. So women are at a huge disadvantage there. They really are. Like one happy, little incident with a man is a life-changing experience for the woman, potentially a life-changing experience. So you can understand their reaction in that regard. Now, this translates into, more concern for the females within Western civilization, within the family unit, within any, kind, caring, compassionate environment. They understand that the little boys and the little girls are different and they need to be looked after differently. And if you were a parent, you would certainly be like, you would have a different attitude towards your son than you would towards your daughter. Your son would be allowed a certain amount of freedom and liberty, where your daughter, you would need to be checking up on her a lot more, because there's so much more at stake for her well-being. So in that regard, the female is at a disadvantage. And it's really a kind of accumulation between the physical, advantage that the man has, the biological advantage that the man has, the intelligence advantage that the man has. It translates into a social advantage. So I'm very sympathetic towards the women in this regard. But, as I said, there are social allowances made for this situation. And the women are able to leverage their female value, their sexual market value, or just the fact that they're female. And the society has great sympathy and concern for the women, to the point that they're actually punishing and, handicapping the boys. And the early development of the children is governed by the women. So they're disadvantaging the boys. They're punishing the boys. The women have an intellectual advantage up until, 12 years old or so. And then moving on, they can leverage their charm, their social charm, and their political sympathy. And they do. That's what we're experiencing in the West. That's the main crux of this issue right here, is that the women are disadvantaged and they want justice. But men have not disadvantaged women. Men are not even the ones who are exploiting women. You know what I mean? Like women are... The entire media is based on sympathy and concern for women. Whoever said we were supposed to be equal? Most men are not my equal in many things, and I take great pride in that. They can have equal rights and things like that, but they're not my equal. There are things, no doubt, that you specialize in, that, you really are good at and that you really care about, and others are not your equal in that regard. So even this desire, this quest for some sort of like given equality, it's misguided. It's an unreasonable expectation of reality. Equality of treatment, but not of outcome. So the women are leveraging, this sort of victim mentality, this sympathy for the female. And the weaker men, the men who were raised by women and who've been drugged through the school system, and even the normal men who just want to get together and please the women, they go along with it. And even the man who knows it's wrong or feels that it's wrong, but he wants to get ahead, he goes along with it. And the more he goes along with it, the more women approve of him. And it would seem he's being successful, but he's being successful at the expense of his own value as a man. As long as he goes along with all these ideas that I've suggested about how women are so disadvantaged, right? They're going to be like, yeah, he's a good guy. But let him even say so much as to say, yeah, they are disadvantaged. And it's not even men's fault. Men have been working from the beginning, to kind of like help out and to make things equal and fair. So if he says that, he's in a lot of trouble. So it's a hell of a place for the men to be in. And you can understand why they're backing off, right? And they're going their own way, right? Why would you involve yourself with somebody who's going to claim that you're cheating them every step of the way when, you've really been a fair partner towards them? So there you go. So that's how I see it. Men and women are not equal. Women have these disadvantages physically, in a kind of developmental socially or epistemic socially. They have a disadvantage carried over from the physical disadvantage and the mental disadvantage, which makes them more prone, to all kinds of danger. But it's biology, it's nature. Civilized society with an abundance of security and resources enables the women to, demand equality in these areas where they're not equal. And then they blame the men. And it can't be resolved because women are women and men are men. So then they start to disadvantage and abuse the men. And they do it to the boys. And they do it because they have access to the boys at a young age. So this is a really hard truth to recognize, what's going on here. And, of course, the solution is, well, I don't know if it's, it is the division of labor, is the idea that, no, men and women are not equal, not at all. You'd have to be an idiot to, even suggest that, or to even be upset about it. And you would use each to their advantages, and they would work together. And that's the way it has been. That's the way nature required it to be. But then as soon as the men start doing a really good job and you've taken care of security and you've taken care of material resources, the women want a new kind of equality, and it's just not possible. So, that's the excuse that they're using, to rip everything apart. And the things that they're complaining about have absolutely zero merit. Well, I wouldn't go that far. They may have some merit in some cases, but they've overplayed their hands so severely that, no, now it's just this endless abuse from women upon men because women are not equal by nature. So that's my take on it. Are men and women equal? No, they're not. Men have every advantage. No one's to blame. It's not their fault. Women used to recognize this and behave in a normal, decent way. They don't anymore because security needs are taken care of and their material needs are taken care of. The important thing to recognize as a man is that this is the situation and that you have to go your own way, that you cannot get together with a woman and do this division of labor. You can't move in together, you can't get married, you can't have children because she's going to punish you, and everybody around you and everybody around her is going to go along with it. The courts, everything. And you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose your kids, you're going to lose your financial future, everything. And nobody's going to even think it's wrong. And if you step up and you say, this is a travesty of justice, this is wrong, no one's even going to hear it, right? Because they worship the women. They feel bad for the women. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. And join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.